Joining us from southern Lebanon. I'm going to thank you for the moment for getting us up to speed with that. Ashraf is there with us, and so is Gaurav Sawant this morning. Gaurav is in Tel Aviv for the very latest on that story. Gaurav, this is day 10 really of the war, and 1 million people have in fact fled Gaza. Given that Israel is ready for the ground offensive, just talk to us about the kind of preparations that have been made and what to expect really in the next few days to come.
So there are two things that are happening simultaneously. One, yes, there is large-scale movement of people across the fence on the Gaza side, but from what we've been told, close to 30 to 40,000 people have also been moved out of southern Israel. We've been reporting from Sderot and Ashkelon, and this entire belt in southern Israel has been completely evacuated. People have been moved to central Israel because the apprehension is that as this battle intensifies in the next several days, there would be several places, even in southern Israel, that would be targeted. Little children have been displaced, even in southern Israel. The government has asked everybody, man, woman, child, the elderly, those who cannot be shifted on their own, have been provided ambulances to be able to shift them to central Israel. So overall, there is a mass movement that is taking place on both sides of the fence, very organized here in southern Israel, where I can see it. And of course, we are seeing images of what's coming from the Gaza side. While rockets are raining from the Hamas side, even this side, like late last night, when we virtually retired for the day, there was a sudden rocket attack here in Tel Aviv, and fortunately, it was intercepted by the Iron Dome. And now, of course, we are told that even laser systems are being used to, completely decimate incoming rockets. So, over the next several days, an attempt is being made, from what we've been told, by foreign powers. So, the Americans want to evacuate their citizens, the British want to evacuate their citizens, and an effort is being made to evacuate their citizens as quickly as possible before the intensification of these operations take place, Neha.
That's right. Gaurav, also I want to ask you, given that you did mention that rockets here are continuously getting neutralized by the Iron Dome, and we saw an example of that in your report as well. What I want to ask you is that how weakened does the Hamas stand as of today, given that Israel continues to in fact pass on information about how many of their locations have been targeted and destroyed?
Hamas retains the ability to strike even now, and this is when you have Israeli drones, unmanned aerial vehicles, with their cameras, with their sensors, keeping a hawk eye on every inch of their territory, from 30 to 35,000 feet in the sky. You have the Heron TP are those huge unmanned aerial vehicles that fly at an altitude of about 30,000 feet to 35,000 feet, and can loiter in the sky for virtually 48 to 72 hours non-stop. They keep a hawkeye on every inch of the Gaza territory. From what I've been told, they can actually see some of the locations from where rockets are being fired, and quick volleys of rockets being fired constantly. But those are so close to residential complexes, so close to schools and other places, that the IDF cannot strike back immediately. So then they send out a message that this is an area that would be painted, or this is an area that would be targeted, and only then they target that location. But by then, those rocket launchers have been removed from there and taken to another location. And one of the officers I was speaking to was telling us how this happens. So these Heron TPs, they loiter in the sky. They then light up a target, in the sense that they have their laser beam that's designated exactly the pinpoint, the target where the rocket launcher is, or a Hamas leader's houses, or their storage facilities, or their ammunition manufacturing capabilities. Hamas manufactures a lot of its own ammunition, or modifies some of its own ammunition that's been used here. So once the Herons or the unmanned aerial vehicles paint that target or lit that target. Then you have the F-16s that come, and from a standoff distance, they then use the precision guided munition that homes on to the location where the laser target is painted by the Herons. So that is how systematically these operations are being carried out by Israel. And yet, as you very rightly pointed out, on day 10, Hamas retains the capability to strike and use rockets to target multiple localities in Israel, so much so with their longer range rockets that can almost reach Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, so much so that areas in the southern part of Israel have been completely evacuated. And India today was reporting from ground zero of one of those evacuation sites where women and little children and the elderly were being shifted out because the men, by and large, and in many cases, women are at the front lines defending their country.
You know, Gaurav, also the other worrying factor here as far as Israel and Hamas concerned is the fact that in Israel has said that there are 155 hostages that have been held by the Hamas. In fact, the leadership also met with the family members of those children who've been held hostage. What is the plan of action vis-a-vis releasing these hostages? What is it that Israel is thinking now?
The information we've been able to glean so far, we do not have it officially from Israeli authorities, is that certain, shallow raids have been carried out in the Gaza Strip. Some activity has taken place, and some hostages, they had specific intelligence about where those hostages were. But again, since that information is not in public domain, and in the sense that it's not yet official, so we cannot authoritatively say what efforts are being made. But there are two aspects to this. One is special forces trying to rescue their people. Two, negotiations that are happening through the Americans. You had U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken traveling across West Asia. He's spoken to a number of foreign ministers and asked them to use their leverage with Hamas to ensure at least the hostages are released. And those numbers have now risen to 120 plus families that have been informed by the Israeli authorities that their kin have been held hostage or are being held hostage. All across Israel, there are big pictures and banners and posters that have been put out saying these are the people that Hamas has taken hostage. So all effort, perhaps that's one reason why that massive offensive, despite the artillery and the armor and the mechanized columns having been positioned at multiple points all across all across the fence from Gaza, those massive incursions haven't taken place because perhaps they're waiting to sort out one, the humanitarian issue, two, the hostage issue, if that can be sorted out. Because Israel says their enmity is not with the people of Palestine. They only want to decimate the Hamas completely. Their operations are aimed only at the Hamas, but perhaps they're waiting to see if there's any progress in the hostage situation. That does appear very difficult, Sneha, for the simple reason if Hamas is holding the people of Palestine hostage, not letting them go south, why would they release the hostages? So very, very difficult situation for Israel and for the people of Palestine at this stage.
Okay. Gaurav Sawant reporting from Tel Aviv. I'm going to thank you, Gaurav, for the moment. Also thanking my colleague Ashraf Vani, who's reporting from South Lebanon. Be safe, you both. In fact, Gaurav and Ashraf, along with our other colleagues, are getting us up to speed with every single development as far as this war is concerned.